Hey guys, it's Adam from Loose Pixel, and welcome back. And to get straight to the point, nope, my title was not clickbait. Yes, I have been experiencing symptoms of burnout, but there's no reason to worry at all. I'm in very good health and very good spirits otherwise. But I did note recently, and as we speak right now, that there were things, concerns, and lifestyle habits that I was taking for granted that over time accumulated to symptoms that put up a red flag for me and made me go, okay, I need to step back. I need to reassess my situation, realign my brain, and get back on a healthier track. Now, because I've been through it myself, I know how to recognize burnout myself, and I've seen loved ones, people in my life go through fairly severe burnouts as well, that thankfully life taught me a very good lesson on self-awareness and self-care. So if you're in a state right now, emotionally, hormonally, physically, where you feel overwhelmed, where you feel stressed out, I want you to be able to recognize these symptoms, but more importantly, learn what can be potential triggers to something like burnout. And I think one of the earliest signs is your breathing, funny enough. You'll notice that if you start getting stressed out, there's something I notice I did more and more every single day, many times during the day, is you would find yourself taking very deep sighs all the time, where you take out these kind of like, almost like air hunger. And it wouldn't just happen once in a blue moon when something upsets you. You'd find yourself doing it over and over and over during the day. And it started getting worse and worse for me. And that to me was already setting off a little bit of a warning light saying, I think you're stressing out a little bit lately. But I kind of put it aside because that's what we do, don't we? Because we're silly people and we tend to put warning signs aside and not addressing them. But as time passed, I found myself doing it 20, 30 times a day. And I would notice that it would take less and less for me to feel this need to decompress. It would become more and more frequent. I would become more sensitive, and I would feel this kind of need to de-stress myself more frequently. That's a very good early sign, because what's happening is that your nervous system needs to relax. And one of the main triggers of burnout, the early signs of burnout, is your body's inability to calm down. And that's because you're pushing your adrenal glands so much, you're pushing your adrenaline so much, it's almost being in this low-key state of fight or flight. It's this constant state of emergency mind. It's subtle though. It can be very quiet. It can be very elusive, but it's there. That you're in this constant state of, I need to be aware. I need to be focused. I need to be on top of things. And when you allow that feeling of obligation, constant obligation, from the moment you wake up in the morning to when you go to bed at night, if you allow that to stick around for too long, you slowly but surely start to drain your batteries. You start to drain your reserves of energy, and your body starts to starve for that relaxation. Why does it starve for relaxation? Because it's through rest and relaxation that you recharge your batteries. This is one of the reasons why meditation is such a powerful tool for long-term health, because it's giving you a little bit of a trickle charge boost in the middle of your day, once or twice a day. And you're going to notice that people who have very, very busy schedules, people who tend to be very hyper productive in a healthy way, like people like comedians and entertainers and stuff like that, that they tend to really advocate for meditation. I know Jerry Seinfeld spoke about that, where he'd meditate 2-3 times a day sometimes as a little recharge. And I have learned that that is very helpful for me too. However, it's not a supplement for sleep. And if you're not sleeping properly, which my hypothyroid self tends to really struggle with, getting a full night's sleep is something very rare for me, that I can have a tendency to allow the lack of relaxation catch up with me. It accumulates over time. And I notice that when my sleep really, really suffers, and I'm combining that with trying to maintain a very consistent schedule of going to the gym and teaching and producing videos and all the other responsibilities that I have aside from that with my children and with my finances and all that kind of stuff, that it accumulates. It accumulates. And the meter slowly starts to go up and up and up over weeks, over months, and then over years. And when it starts to hit that tipping point, when your body does not have that enough reserve during the day to rest and recuperate from all of this stress you're putting your body through, it starts to try to claw it back a little bit. And that's when you try to take in a big gulp of oxygen to relax your muscles and your brain a little bit. It doesn't really work. But what it is doing, what you should be paying attention to, is that's your body's way of saying, hey, you need to start setting priority lists for yourself. You need to start saying what needs to be addressed right now and what are concerns that you can put aside, things that aren't, you don't have to take care of them stat, as doctors would say. It's not an immediate emergency. So that's that's a very common first warning sign. Along with that, and in conjunction with that, could be a difficult time falling asleep or staying asleep. And falling asleep, a difficulty falling asleep would be called insomnia, where you can't fall asleep for several hours, or sleep maintenance insomnia, where you do fall asleep, but you have a hard time staying asleep. I would argue that the second one is my real problem. When I'm tired, I can fall asleep on the drop of a dime. I just put on Let Me Know or some David Attenborough documentary and I'm out in seconds. But what would very often happen with me is that I would wake up at 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and I wouldn't be able to fall back asleep until 5-6 o'clock in the morning, when it's generally time for me to get up and go to the gym. And if this would happen for more than a couple of days, then that lack of rest really hypercharges my battery drain. And that's when I would really start to feel that stress accumulate. So it could be one of two things that could be contributing to this. So what are some of the things that you can do to help you get your sleep and your rest back in order? Number one is, if you can meditate, I absolutely highly recommend it. There's many amazing free meditations you can do on YouTube if you like guided meditation. I have an app that I've been using for years called Calm, which I really enjoy. Tamara Levitt, she does these 10-minute meditations that I like to do once or twice a day. I find very helpful. It makes a very big difference. But the other thing that's important is that you realize that you're not an on-off switch. Your hormonal cycle during the day is not an on-off switch. It goes through a wave, gradually up and gradually down. So that means for you is you don't want to keep your brain hypercharged and hyper-focused until 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And then at 11:45, you brush your teeth and you go to bed and then expect to fall asleep. You haven't prepared yourself hormonally to do that. So for me, I always make a point of, if I do any work after 5 p.m., I teach till 4, but I very often work until 5. If I do any work beyond 5 o'clock, it can only be work that I enjoy. That is not work to me. Drawing is something that I enjoy doing because it's meditative, like the drawing you're watching right now. Sometimes I'll draw during my lunch break, and I'll draw all the way up until 9, 10 o'clock at night. Not the full time, but I'll put in an hour or two in the evening as well. That kind of work does not drain my battery. To me, that just helps me to focus and meditate on something. However, I don't draw until 10 o'clock at night. I usually try to, even for something like that, I usually like to stop drawing, doing any kind of focus and labor-intensive work, usually around the 7, 8 o'clock mark. You might notice, if you've been following my channel, that's usually around the time that I turn on a video game and I disconnect from work altogether. Like lately I've been playing Sekiro, and I have a couple of other fantastic games that I want to do some live streams with you as well. Some very artistically focused games, recommendations of friends of mine, absolutely. But that's usually when you'll notice that I jump online to stream for an hour or two and just hang out with you guys and have some fun and watch me rage on a Sekiro boss or something like that. That's my downtime. And usually by 9 o'clock, by 9 p.m., at that point, that's usually when my body's starting to get ready to kind of tap out. That's usually when I thank everybody for joining the live stream, and I log out, and I might do something relaxing at that point. I might play a couple of games of chess. I might hang out with my kids, something like that. But I try to avoid doing anything that requires a heavy mental load, because that kind of stuff keeps your brain overactive, and you're draining your battery all the way until the very last second. You don't want to do that. So that way, by the time it's time for me to peace out for the day and to go to bed, usually that's around the 10 to 11 o'clock p.m., because I like to get at least 7 hours of sleep a night. That's my average, 6-7 hours. 6-7, yeah. Clock it, you know what I'm saying? But get 6 or 7 hours of sleep that night. That's good for me. Anything more than that tends to feel like overrest. That will give me a good night's sleep. I might wake up in the middle of the night. That's very common for me, but generally speaking, I'll fall back asleep. And I try to get myself back on that rhythm. So if you're having trouble falling asleep, number one, you're burning your candle at both ends too late in the evening, and you're not giving yourself a chance to recharge during the day. Very important. This next sign is a doozy. It's a very clear warning sign that something is off with you, and you need to sit back and reevaluate your situation. Emotional irregularity. What do I mean by that? Emotional irregularity means that there's an imbalance in your emotions, essentially. And what that means, what I've recognized that in me, is that if there's something that triggers a negative emotion in particular in me, be it frustration, sadness, annoyance, anger, whatever, confusion, overwhelm, that it triggers much more easily than usual. Like you're very, very reactive. Furthermore, when you do react, you react a lot stronger than normal. You overreact, and you have a harder time letting it go. Negative emotions have a tendency to seep in much more easily. They get in through the cracks much more easily, and you have a much harder time getting rid of them. So if you get angry at something, you stay angry for longer than you should. You get angrier than you normally would. If you're sad about something, you could sit around and just start feeling like you want to cry out of nowhere. And you can flip back and forth between these emotional states on the drop of a dime. 1 second you're pissed off and yelling at somebody, and 2 seconds later you feel like you want to bawl your eyes out. And then 5 seconds after that you're getting annoyed by something. You find that when a negative emotion kicks in, you kind of get this adrenaline surge of negativity. Think of it that way. To each their own. It depends on how your body handles stress. Essentially what you're experiencing is a stress response. It's your body trying to purge negativity. And just like any kind of release, when your body needs a release of something, the more intensely you need to release something, the more aggressive your body tries to achieve it. Through sadness, through anger, through annoyance. It's just like It's just like that deep sigh. Your body's trying to release something. It's trying to let go of something. And because you've kept it bottled up for so long, and because you just don't have the reserves in your body to be able to calm yourself down and think rationally, you tend to react irrationally much more easily. When you start getting those early warning signs, it's time to back up. It's time to stop. What I recommend, if that's the case, the first thing, the kind of more emergency thing you need to do when you have emotional triggers, they get triggered way too easily, is learn to recognize those triggers. What was it that my spouse said? What was it that that neighbor said? What did that guy, the redhead guy at the gas station, say to me that got me so fired up? What was it that my partner said that made me want to bawl out crying for absolutely no reason whatsoever? She didn't mean anything by that. Why did I feel like I wanted to just crawl into a ball and just weep uncontrollably for half an hour? What did she say? What did he say? And learn to recognize that. So when that trigger does happen, you have you're prepared to step back and say, oh, my nose is tingling. I know that sign. Don't engage. Take a deep breath, step away, calm yourself down. That's the first step. The second step is to stop, sit back and say, okay, I'm very easily triggered lately. This is the third time today that I had some kind of strong emotional reaction to something. That's not normal. That's not normal. Now, of course, if you've been through some kind of a serious trauma, then yeah, if you've had a loss in your life, if you're going through a health scare, if there's something really bad happening, then you know where that emotional instability is coming from. That's not so much of a burnout, that's you just reacting to something very difficult or traumatic. That kind of emotional outburst is justified. You still need to get help for that. You still need to consider yourself and take care of yourself, absolutely. But that's not necessarily a sign of a burnout. That's a sign of you're going through a tough time right now and you need to heal from that, right? But otherwise, like in my case, I haven't been through any traumas lately. I haven't suffered any injustices. I haven't experienced any serious losses in my life. My life is, in most part, fine. I'm okay. I have day-to-day stresses, but nothing that would justify having the strong emotional reactions that I've been having to almost frickin' everything. And that was my cue to step back. So first is recognize your triggers and step back, step away. If you're with a partner in your life and maybe the trigger was the beginning of an argument and you didn't want to engage that argument because you felt you were getting over emotional and you were becoming irrational about that, then if I can give you some relationship advice, what I recommend doing for the sake of the health of your relationship and your communication with your partner is don't just get up and walk away. What I recommend you do is say, okay, listen, I'm getting triggered. I'm going to take a break. Can we talk about this in a couple of hours? But right now, I don't feel like I'm in a lucid enough headspace. I don't feel like I'm in a calm enough headspace to have a healthy, mature conversation. I think that if I talk to you right now, all I'm going to want to do is yell at you. I'm not abandoning this conversation. I'm not ignoring you. I'm just taking a break because I want to be able to be present for you. And of course, it's easier said than done when you're pissed off and somebody does something to piss you off. But what I recommend is not just walking away on somebody and making them feel like their feelings are being abandoned, because that can lead to resentment later on. Instead, say, listen, I can't talk right now. I'm just emotionally triggered. You said something that triggered me, and I'm all I see is red right now. Give me a couple of hours. Let me take a breather. I'll go for a walk. I'll go for a drive. I'll go to the grocery store, and when I come back and we've had a chance to settle down, we'll give it another chance because I do want to talk about it. That's showing your partner respect. But you do that, and you do give yourself that break from it. And from that point on, once you do have a moment to yourself to be able to sit and think, maybe it's in the evenings when your kid's gone to bed and you have a couple of hours to yourself, one of the things I love to do is just grab my journal. I have an analog journal and one of my favorite pens, And I open up my journal and I sit down and at first, I just purge. I purge, meaning I just get it all out there. I don't try to sound good. I don't give a shit if my penmanship is on point. This isn't about aesthetics. It's not about being coherent. It's just about unloading some of this weight you can't carry anymore emotionally and just dump it on a page. Unfiltered. Just out you go. I know for a fact if anybody read my journal, they might think I'm a complete psychopath or they might think I hate their guts. When I don't hate their guts at all, I'm just venting. I'm just saying whatever. I'm just letting out all that vitriol and that negativity on a piece of paper. And honest to goodness, once it's out there, I forget it. It's like a dream. It's just out there. I put it out there, but what I've done is taken these thoughts out of my brain so they're not swirling around anymore. And I just tack them down on a page so they become something tangible. They have mass to them, and then I can close the book on it. Instead of just having it be this swirl of chaos going on in my brain. And once I do that, usually, when I'm having a good day, when it's a normal day and I'm just documenting things, usually I like to fill one perfect page. I like to end my thought on the last line of that page. But if I'm having a particularly hard day, I'll do 2 or 3 pages. And the first page is purging, the second page is organizing my thoughts, and the third page is looking for a resolution. And I do that very systematically, and it really works because I need to quiet the noise. Then I need to organize all of my Halloween candies of thought in nice organized piles. And then I got to choose which ones I'm going to eat today. Think of it like that. It's extremely helpful. What I don't recommend is just sitting down and thinking incessantly. Your brain's not good at that kind of stuff, at least not from my experience. For me, just sitting down and trying to think through things, I find it's like a dream. It's untethered. It's hard to organize mentally. So I put it down on a piece of paper, and the moment it's on a piece of paper, I can put it behind me. It's a powerful, powerful tool. I personally prefer to handwrite. Why? Well, for starters, I prefer writing on paper. I just have small lettering and I like to use a fine pen. But secondly, it forces you to slow down. It forces you to think while you're writing. And I find that when I type, I'm typing so quickly that I have a much easier time rambling endlessly. Where when I'm writing, I want to be a little bit more economical with my thoughts and kind of get to the point and close the book on things, literally and figuratively, because my hand starts to cramp up after 2 or 3 pages. I don't want to write anymore, so I kind of want to finish it. It's a good tool. I find it's very, very handy. Once that's done, and you have that in front of you, this is where you can start to set a priority list. Think of it like a tier list of emotional priorities. I have to get the pantry door upstairs fixed because one of the screws fell off, and we've had this stupid pantry door missing, and all of our Tupperware is just sitting there on display for everybody to see, and it's a bit irritating. I need to go to the hardware store and get some plastic wood so I can screw the door back on. That's a priority. Second thing is I need to get my taxes done. The deadline's coming up and I've got taxes to pay. That's a priority. Okay. I need to have a conversation with my kids about something important. Okay, that's another one. So on and so forth. And you just kind of write them out in front of you. Okay, which one is a top priority? Which one is an emergency that needs to be dealt with now? Because I don't have the mental bandwidth to handle everything simultaneously. That's what got me in this mess in the first place, right? So I go, okay, my taxes need to get done. I have a week to complete them and submit them. That's got to get done right away. Bite the bullet, get it done. It's the one I want to do the least. It's the one that's going to require the most mental effort, but it's the one preoccupying me the most. And it's the one that has the greatest consequences if I don't take care of it. That's priority number 1. Priority number 2, talk to your kids about stuff. If there's something important, family issues, I think that should take priority because, well, you live with them. You have to take care of your family. You need to talk with them. You need to share your thoughts and feelings and be on the right page with your family, because they impact your health and your life and the quality of it every single day. So first is the taxes. Then I'm going to talk to my family about this important issue. And then the third is, let's get that pantry door fixed. And while you're taking care of those taxes, nothing else exists unless it's an emergency. Nothing. Just do the damn taxes and forget about everything else. Just do it until it's done. Once that's done, you submit it. Now that overwhelm, that overfilled bottle that you have is gotten much emptier. It's lighter in your hands. Your head feels much less compressed. And every time you slowly start to eliminate things one at a time, but you got to do it. You got to do the work. The pressure slowly starts to relax and you start to feel better. And you're going to notice that the moment that pressure valve starts to release, the moment you start to release the negativity, you know what happens? That space needs to get filled. And what it fills with is positive thoughts. You're going to notice that once you start to purge the negative thoughts, you just feel like watching a stand-up comedy show because you feel like laughing. And you're going to have the best laugh you ever had in your life. You're going to want to cuddle with your sweetheart because you feel extremely loving that day because you're not preoccupied about all this other shit. You're going to want to take one of your kids out for a one-on-one lunch or dinner together so you can just shoot the shit and enjoy each other's company. Or with your partner and your sweetheart, your loved one. So that's the second. Other signs you might experience would be, for me, I was actually feeling short of breath quite a bit. That's a sign that your adrenaline is really high. When you feel almost asthmatic. Now you could have asthma. That could be that. So if you're wheezing like a weirdo, then maybe go get your lungs checked. But if you're not somebody who has chronic asthma, headaches, shortness of breath, air hunger is a very, very good sign. This is something that I've been experiencing lately as well. Just this constant feeling like, Jesus, I wish I had an asthma pump or something like that because I'm not taking enough air. That can be a very good sign of it. Things like that. Those are the major, major things. You can also feel tired and just feel unmotivated. You feel a little bit flat and numb. Like just things don't please you. You just don't find enjoyment and stuff. You just feel like, fuck, nothing really matters. Now, that could overlap depression. There's a lot of comorbidity. It can be difficult to make a distinction between burnout and depression. I know I'm not depressed because I don't feel dark and depressed and sad. I feel overwhelmed and exhausted and irritable. That's been my symptoms. But if you're not sure, there's lots of videos online that make distinctions between depression and anxiety and burnout. However, the biggest and most important piece of advice I want to give to you today is you need to take care of yourself. You need to prioritize your health. Because if you don't, eventually your health catches up with you. Sure, it's fun once in a while to have a drink, but if you drink every day, you destroy your health. Sure, it's fun every now and then to have a piece of cake and celebrate with everybody else. But if you eat cake every day, you get sick. That starts to impact your health in a negative way. If you have a bad night's sleep, it's okay. But if you have a month of bad sleep, you start to have serious health issues. And if you don't take care of your day-to-day irritations, stresses, preoccupations, and you just put them off, and put them off, and put them off, they don't evaporate on their own. They have to go somewhere. They need to be handled and addressed. So that's when you should journal, meditate, have conversations with your loved ones. In essence, take an active role in being a healthy person. Take an active role in taking care of yourself. Your relationships, your body, your nutrition, your work, your mental state. All of these things require time, and you need to reserve time for you. Because if all you're doing is just constantly taking care of the needs of other people, and that's all you do, at the neglect of your own health, eventually that's going to catch up with you, and you're going to be pretty much useless, not only to them, but to yourself as well. Sound good? With that said, I want you to dedicate today and this week and this month to taking excellent care of yourself and your loved ones. And of course, I love you all with all my heart, and happy painting. Take care.